Dragon Quest XII has just been announced for the second time, and it's looking very similar to Dragon Quest XI, but until that gets released, I have quite a few games for you to get into, and let's start with one that has a familiar developer taking part in it. And I am, of course, talking about Blue Dragon. Blue Dragon is an interesting one for Dragon Quest fans because it comes from some of the developers who made their games right alongside Dragon Quest for a long time. And it has the advantage of also having character design by Akira Toriyama, so it's basically a double win. The studio with Uematsu and Sakaguchi Mistwalker decided to make their first game originally releasing on Xbox 360. It was a huge deal at the time because Sakaguchi was, of course, known as the creator of Final Fantasy. It was a big game, the first on the 360 to use multiple discs, having 3 in total. It has that classic JRPG style, is pretty open, allowing you to explore a large world. It has this shadow class system where every character has a shadow creature, and you can combine abilities. It's very old school in a lot of ways, which if you're a Dragon Quest fan, you'll probably love, and I would highly recommend it to fans of that style. You can play it on Xbox 360. It's not available anywhere else. And we're getting a bit weird and obscure earlier on in this one because I feel like it. I want you to check out Popolo Kroi Monogatari 1 and 2 on the PS1 if you are a Dragon Quest XI fan. This is a game that follows Pietro, the young prince of the kingdom whose journey to save his mother from an unending sleep leads him to all sorts of interesting adventures. This game is set up very much like a fairy tale, which reflects some of the ideas of Dragon Quest XI. There's this nice warmth and lightness to the game, complete with silly moments, but also more serious ones, of course, and this game holds up amazingly well for a game from the PS1 era, with a beautiful stylistic art style, and if you're in the mood for a lighter story that lifts you up instead of pressing down on you, maybe look into Popolo Kroi. Fair warning though, it is pretty old school, so expect a lot of encounters and a pretty challenging turn-based combat, at least in the first part for the PS1. The second game cools it down a bit, so it's not quite as difficult and not quite as many encounters. You also have options because there is a PSP version, but it was notoriously watered down and cut quite a bit of the two games. It's like a mashup of the first and second game. I would recommend the PS1 versions as long as you have the patience for that. And one of my choices for one of the best JRPGs ever, Lunar: The Silver Star Story, is a great fit for fans of Dragon Quest XI. It has a similar feel to it with the swap between lighthearted moments, heavier scenes, and it has fantastic characters that are very memorable. Both Lunar games are much like the Dragon Quest series, what I would consider archetypes of the JRPG genre. Basically, the kind of JRPG that if you want to make this style of game, you should look at these games. It isn't that it did anything hugely groundbreaking or surprising, it's that they do everything to a very high standard, the story is told well, the characters are well developed, and the story moves from one moment to the next in a way that draws you forward to keep playing. Out of every game on this list, this is the one that I would probably recommend the most, and it's much easier to access now because there is an HD remastered version of both games available on all modern consoles and PC. And along those same lines, and with some of the same developers, I'd also like to recommend Grandia. Much like Dragon Quest XI, it really embodies that feeling of adventure. The journey is the main focus. In Grandia, the main character Justin leaves home towards the unknown and meets all sorts of different characters along the way. And of course, ends up getting involved in everyone else's problems, and it has such a nice and wide variety of different locations to explore. It does all of this while remaining hopeful the whole time. And the characters of Grandia really grow together. That is especially shown in the relationship of Justin and Fina, with of course a developing romance that blossoms through the game. While the mechanics are quite different, Grandia is often said to have one of the best combat systems in JRPGs, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. This one is less about being exactly like Dragon Quest XI mechanically, and more about the feeling that it invokes, the themes and ideas that are involved, and the structure of how the story plays out. Going on a journey with some characters that you grow to love. And you can play Grandia and Grandia 2 HD Remastered on all modern consoles and PC. And sometimes the best recommendation is the more obvious one, and I feel like I have to recommend Final Fantasy IX for the Dragon Quest XI fans. This is a Final Fantasy game that went back to the things that made Final Fantasy so good, traditional JRPG combat, a beautiful world that's fun to explore, a cast of characters that you grow to love over time. Final Fantasy IX is amazing. It also has its own tricks up its sleeve. Even though it's pretty traditional in a lot of ways, it likes to throw curveballs at you as you're playing. You have an entire card game minigame system. And if you're going to play Final Fantasy IX, I would highly recommend that you play it with Moguri Mod. This is a mod that basically does everything you would want from a remaster. It adds faster combat, high-definition backgrounds, cleans up textures, character and monster models, adds an optional orchestrated soundtrack. This is what Square should have done to remaster the game, but made for you by fans. So play Final Fantasy IX on PC with Moguri Mod. I think you have to get the Steam version for it to work. Dragon Quest XI fans, you won't regret playing this game. And one more game that I'd like to recommend to fans of Dragon Quest XI is Ni no Kuni 2. Ni no Kuni 2, for some reason, kind of gets a bad rap around some people, but I actually think it's quite underrated. It has a beautiful world that you get to explore, that classic JRPG style overworld map that you can fully traverse. It even has an entire kingdom building system inserted into it with villagers that you recruit, bigger scale battles that you fight. They're kind of like a simple mini game, but it's fun. It also has that bright and colorful style that is associated with Studio Ghibli, who are not involved in the second game directly, but one of the designers that did animation and character design for Studio Ghibli now works at level 5, so they're still related in that sense. And for fans of the large-scale adventure, the aesthetic and the lighter feeling that you get from a Dragon Quest game, Ni no Kuni 2 feels like an easy recommend. So you can play it on PS5, Switch, and PC. I feel like this might be an obvious one, and that's why it's just one of the bonus games, not a main game on the list, but if you haven't, you should definitely check out Dragon Quest VIII. There are 2 different versions of it. They're different enough that it matters which one you choose. In the 3DS version, you can see monsters on the map before you get into combat with them, for example. Really is the template that Dragon Quest XI was built from. For some people, it's actually the better game. Out of the 2, I'm not really sure which one I would recommend more. If aesthetics matter more to you, maybe the PS2 version could be better. Either way, you can't really go wrong. It's a great game. So there you go. 6 games like Dragon Quest XI. I hope you found something that interests you, and if you have your own picks that you think people might be into, please put them in the comments. And for more game suggestions and videos about RPGs of all kinds, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.